This is K390, one of the most wear-resistant knife steels on the market. It holds an edge for a very long time, but when it gets dull, it's not forgiving. Today, we're sharpening a handmade knife and correcting a bevel imbalance near the ricasso. And by the end, we'll see just how sharp this steel can really get. The knife is handmade by Nikolai Podagiev. Blade steel, Bowler K390. Handle, American maple. Stainless steel pommel, guard, and spacer. Clean craftsmanship, strong geometry. But sharpening is what unlocks performance. K390 is known for extreme wear resistance. That means it stays sharp longer than most steels. The reason is simple. It contains a large amount of very hard carbides. Those carbides make cutting performance excellent, but they also make sharpening slower. That's why we're using CBN and diamond abrasives today. We start with a 550 grit Poltava Premium CBN Bronze stone. This stage is about correction. The bevel near the ricasso is narrower on one side. Instead of reprofiling the entire edge, I focus only where adjustment is needed. To do that, I use the edge of the sharpening stone. This allows precise, localized material removal and gradually widens the bevel in that specific area. With K390, pressure control is critical. Too much pressure causes uneven scratch patterns. Too little slows progress dramatically. I'm working with steady, controlled strokes, checking the bevel frequently. The goal here is simple: create a consistent bevel and establish a clean apex along the entire length of the edge. Once I get a continuous burr from heel to tip, the correction is complete. This is the place to thank Nikolai Podagiev for providing me with this knife. The man has an online store where he offers his handmade knives, as well as other knives. I will put a link to his online store in the description below the video, so you can take a look. You can also see my previous video where I sharpened an SRM folding knife, also provided to me by him. Once I have established that the cutting edge is even and I have obtained a burr along the entire length of the blade, I can move on to work on the other side of the knife. The goal is to make both sides of the bevel equally wide and achieve a burr on that side as well. Then, I carefully remove the burr with gentle pushing strokes along the entire length of the blade. And you can see how the knife cuts through a paper towel right after the first stone. The sharpness is great, there are no tears in the cut, but this is only the first stage of sharpening this wonderful knife. With the next steps, we will make the cutting edge even finer and cleaner. Next is 650 Grit Poltava Premium CBN. It's close to 550 in grit size, but slightly finer. This stone helps remove minor inconsistencies and smooth out any uneven scratch patterns created during the correction phase. The bevel now becomes more uniform and visually cleaner. This stone is very close in grit size to the 550, but slightly finer. That small difference matters. The 550 grit was used for correction, widening the bevel near the ricasso and restoring balance. But aggressive correction often leaves minor surface irregularities. Small waves, uneven scratch transitions. The 650 grit stage is about refinement. I reduce the pressure slightly. The goal is no longer heavy material removal. Instead, I'm focusing on straightening and flattening the bevel surface along the entire length of the cutting edge. Consistent angle, smooth strokes, full edge coverage from heel to tip. At this stage, the bevel should become visually uniform and mechanically consistent. The burr becomes lighter and more controlled. When the scratch pattern from the 550 grit is fully replaced and the edge feels stable along its entire length, we are ready to move forward. You see, among 650 stone, the cut is now much softer. It cuts the paper towel more quietly. A small difference in grit, but a significant difference in sharpness. Now we move to the 1500 grit Poltava CBN Expert Pro. This stone uses a resin bond, which changes the feel of the sharpening process. Compared to the metal bond stones, it cuts smoother and produces a more refined scratch pattern. At this stage, we are no longer correcting geometry. We are refining the edge. Pressure becomes lighter. Movements become slower. Angle control becomes critical. The 1500 grit removes the scratch pattern left by the 650 and significantly reduces burr formation. The bevel should now appear cleaner, more uniform, and more controlled. This is where the edge begins to transition from aggressive shaping to true sharpness. Once the previous scratch marks are fully replaced and the burrs minimal, we're ready for the next stage. But before that, let's do a little sharpness check. Great cuts! Let's continue with the next stone. Now we move to the 2000 grit TsProf Alpha diamond stone. This is a resin-bonded diamond abrasive designed for controlled refinement. At this stage, we are removing the scratch pattern left by the 1500 grit and further refining the apex. Pressure is light. Movements are deliberate. Diamond abrasives cut efficiently, even through the hard carbides in K390. The edge begins to feel noticeably sharper, more precise, more responsive. The bevel surface becomes cleaner, and the scratch pattern becomes finer and more uniform. I'm focusing on full edge coverage and consistent angle control. Once the previous scratches are fully replaced and the burrs nearly eliminated, the edge is ready for final polishing. For the final stage, I'm using a Gitenax Strop with a 1 micron diamond suspension. I prefer Gitenax over leather or wood strops for a very specific reason. It allows me to work in both directions of the cutting edge without the blade digging into the surface. Leather can compress, wood can be less forgiving. Gitenax provides a firm, stable base with minimal surface flex. That stability gives better control and reduces the risk of rounding the apex. I apply only light pressure and make controlled passes to remove any remaining microburr. The 1 micron diamond refines the edge further and enhances polish without sacrificing bite. The result is a clean, highly refined apex with no visible scratches under normal light. Now it's time to test the edge. Paper towel first, clean cut, no tearing, no snagging. Next, thin, glossy brochure paper. This type of paper is slick and challenging. I'm even adding slight wave movements to test edge stability and control. The cut remains smooth and precise. And finally, an empty cigarette. A light touch is enough. The blade slices through effortlessly. That's a clean apex. Properly sharpened K390. This steel requires patience. It requires the right abrasives. And above all, it rewards precision. This is not the easiest steel to sharpen. It won't forgive poor technique or rushed progression. But when handled correctly, it delivers exceptional edge retention and outstanding cutting performance. A clean bevel, a stable apex, a refined, polished edge with no visible scratches. That's the result of controlled sharpening and proper stone progression. If you enjoy detailed sharpening breakdowns, steel analysis, and real-world edge testing, consider subscribing to the channel. More sharpening sessions, more high-performance steels, and deeper technical insights are coming soon.